Hey guys, today I am talking about what I consider to be an almost magical elixir for my vegetable garden. It will literally cause your garden to explode with growth overnight. You will put this on your vegetables, you will come back a day or two later, and you will notice significant, not just subtle differences. Also, it will help fight off diseases and insects as it will make your plant much stronger. It has a natural ability to kill any pathogens, and bad bacteria in the soil, and it will also help as a topical spray. So this is not only good for a soil drench, but also as a topical spray. These plants have really taken off. I tried this in 50% of the vegetable garden, while for the other 50% I did not try it. I wanted to see what the results are, and I have seen amazing growth in the plants I put it on. So let's head into the greenhouse and I will show you how to use, make, and some benefits of this, what I consider a magical elixir. So guys, I am always experimenting with different recipes, different products, and I actually do something that most gardeners don't do. I take notes. I will make a note on what worked. I will try it on maybe 1 out of 8 vegetables or 1 out of 6 vegetables. Maybe I will try it on up to 50% and I will see the difference between the treated and the non-treated. So I always want to know exactly what is happening in the vegetable garden, and I will give it anywhere from 7 to 10 days to see the results. So one of the things I love doing is experimentation in the garden so I can see exactly what is working best. And I am always trying new and different what I call elixirs, recipes, and just things that will make your vegetables stronger and grow healthier and produce a much larger yield. So I will give you the 3 ingredients. First, one is just milk, whether it is raw, pasteurized, unpasteurized, just common everyday whole milk. The second is Castile soap. It is a natural soap that does not contain any chemicals. It is made from essential oils and vegetables. So this is perfectly safe to use around your garden. Safe for humans, pets, and the last thing, the workhorse of this magical elixir is just ground powdered turmeric. And it is one of the things that has many, many benefits. I'm going to go over 10 things that this will help in the garden, and specifically your vegetable garden that will make a huge difference. So let me run through those 10 things before I give you the recipe and how to apply it. First, turmeric is a natural fungicide. It will not allow funguses to grow on your plants, especially seedlings. It can prevent things like root rot, damping off, and it just really helps with things like powdery mildew. So one of the things that you want to consider as a natural fungicide and not a chemical one is turmeric. So that is number 1 on our list of 10 things that turmeric can do for your vegetable garden. Now, turmeric has a very strong aroma and odor. And one of the things that it is good for is repelling insects, ants, aphids, whiteflies, whether you sprinkle it around the base of the plant. And it is good to do both of these. Just in a little thing like this, you can just sprinkle around the base of the plant to help repel those. And also for things that are just going to land on your vegetables without coming across the ground, is to do a topical spray with it. And I am going to give you that recipe at the end, like I said. But that is number 2 of the things that turmeric can do for your garden. Now next, if you are getting a lot of rain, or if you found that you have overwatered and you are starting to see some other problems with your plants, turmeric works great as an antifungal for root rot. That is what usually causes root rot, is just too much water. You can use it as a soil drench. Just mix it as how I will recommend. Pour it at the base of the plant, and root rot can be quickly eliminated for plants that have been overwatered, or if you have had an exceptionally watery spring, or rainy summer. So if you have had a damaged plant, you have cut off a limb, and there is an open wound there, you can take and put a little bit of turmeric on your finger and just tip on the tip of the branch. You can put it on there. Also, if you have recently transplanted, you can sprinkle a little of this in the soil to help any damaged roots where you have done a transplant or a newly transplanted larger plant. So just remember, probably 1 teaspoon to 1 gallon of soil will help any of those damaged roots or any of the damaged stems. Now, I have got a video I will link right here where I talked about how to make your own garden soil, and it really works well, and it is probably half the price or less of the bagged product you buy. But turmeric in the soil will help with pathogens, and it helps the microbial balance in the soil. So that is another thing. By putting a small amount, whether the liquid formula, I am going to show you how to create, or even just sprinkling the powdered version around your plant when you are mixing the soil. Now, turmeric can also help with small pest nematodes and other microscopic insects that grow in the soil and that can damage your roots. So that is another thing that it fights those pests that may already be in the soil, and it is toxic to those pests. So just remember, putting it either in its liquid form or its powdered form can fight those off as well and prevent any root damage. Also, by using it, it can help boost your plant's immunity by starting something called SOR. And I will put the exact description of that because I don't want to butcher this pronunciation, but that can also help your plant with its immunity towards disease and pests that might come in as the summer proceeds and can attack both your plants and your vegetables growing on plants. Now, doing the foliar spray on tomatoes and other leafy green plants can also help with bacterial problems such as leaf spot and other things like that. So just doing a bacterial spray once a week can really help with cucumbers, tomatoes, squashes, anything like that that has a lot of leafy green growth on them, and you are starting to see some spots on the leaves, especially tomatoes. Now, turmeric can be an organic growth booster. It helps in the beginning with your seedlings. It has got trace minerals and antioxidants in it. So that is one thing that can get your seedlings or your small tomato plants or whatever you are starting with. If they are very small, it can help with healthy root growth very quickly. So just remember, there are so many things. That was number 9. And I have got one last thing. Now, the last thing before I show you the recipes and how to use them is it is safe for pollinators and humans. It breaks down in the soil, won't contaminate the soil, so it is a perfectly safe product to use around any vegetables. And if you grow a vegetable garden, unless you are doing a lot of the flower-to-flower pollination yourself, pollinators are absolutely essential in any vegetable garden. So that is one thing that is great. If you do a foliar spray, you don't have to worry about harming or repelling your pollinators. Only the microscopic and really small things, like aphids, are going to be affected by turmeric. Now, I am going to give you 2 different recipes. One is going to be a foliar spray, and the other is going to be a soil drench. So there is a little bit different recipe, slight changes in the recipes, but again, the first one we are doing is a foliar feeding. All right, so the first thing we need is 1 tablespoon. It doesn't have to be a heaping tablespoon, maybe just a level tablespoon of our turmeric powder. Next, we are going to want 1 cup of whole milk. Doesn't matter if it is pasteurized or raw, but there are some really important things in milk. It is very healthy for our plants. And a lot of people in other countries that don't have access to non-organic fertilizer or synthetic fertilizers, they use things like this. So next is our 1 cup of whole milk. Don't overfill. And we will need to make sure when we put this in our glass container that we do a lot of shaking because we want to make sure the turmeric is properly mixed. Now next you are going to want 1 teaspoon of liquid Castile soap. Like I said earlier, it is a safe soap to use. It is made completely naturally. So we are doing 1 teaspoon of the Castile soap, and the water we are using is captured rainwater, but you could use tap water. I just like using rainwater that I get from my rain barrel. It is usually lukewarm, but I do let it sit out in the sun. Let it warm up. We want it warm, but not hot so it mixes properly, and that will be 1 quart. And I am going to have to get a quart mason jar to do our water with. But this is our initial mix. And then we are going to put it in with the 4 cups of slightly warm water, not hot water. So you don't want to use hot water because you could damage your plant if you pour it on there, and it is hot. Now we are going to do our 4 cups of slightly warm water, and I am going to put it inside of this gallon-sized container because I am planning on using my large backpack sprayer to do the whole garden where I want to protect my vegetables from any possible pathogens or any issues that might come up early or midway through the summer. Next, we are going to put in our pre-mixed turmeric, milk, and Castile soap, and we may have to just put a little bit more. We have got a little bit of settling that happened there. So we are just going to mix that up just a little bit more and then put that into our sprayer into our gallon-sized jar. We are going to thoroughly mix this. I am going to put the cap back on it and shake it to make sure it is well mixed before we put it into our container. Now, what I am doing is I am going to put it into one of these solo sprayers initially to do some spot treatments around the garden, but eventually it will make its way to the 20-volt backpack sprayer, and I will have to upsize the recipe and make some more as we go. But I just wanted to show you These solo sprayers are great for treating your plants because this angled tip allows you to spray from above and you can go up under leaves. It makes it super easy to treat your garden with whatever you are using. So I highly recommend solo sprayers. I will put a link in the description, as I always do with all the products I am using. Anything I can't find, you may have to look at your local hardware store. But if I can find it online, I usually do, because I order a lot of stuff online myself. So let's shake before we put it into our sprayer and go out into the garden and treat our first plants. And then I will come back and show you the soil drench recipe. Now, as I said, this is a foliar feeding is what we want to do. We want to spray from above each leaf and from below. That way we make sure that we are treating the leaf and it is fully protected. So this tomato plant should start seeing some results very quickly. I am going to come back and do a soil drench as well. But remember, these type of sprayers, you can get up under the leaves so much easier and do a nice misting spray, which makes it 10 times easier than to have one of the old-fashioned squeeze-type bottles where you are trying to angle your hand, and a lot of times you will have an air bubble inside your container, and you can't get it to work properly. So I really like these solo sprayers. Now, before I move on to our soil drench formula, I just want to say that foliar feeding is really great for tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, and peppers, which are the 4 most common things you will find in most gardeners' vegetable gardens. Now, one last thing I forgot to say about the foliar feed is you want to make sure you do that in the morning before the sun comes out. You don't have to worry about sun scorch or any type of problems with the leaves getting burned from the formula we are putting on them. Sun can do things like that when it hits a wet leaf. Even just regular raindrops can have that type of magnification effect and can sometimes, it is rare, but it can damage the plant. So you make sure you do that in the morning every 7 to 10 days during the entire growing season to help boost your tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever it is you are growing throughout the season, and you will see a much better yield. So let's move on to the soil drench. Okay, so the soil drench is a little bit different, but not tremendously. But what we are going to do first is we are going to take 1 tablespoon. We are upsizing a little bit to the tablespoon, making a little bit of a mess there. A tablespoon of the turmeric powder. We are going to take 1 cup of whole milk. Just find the one from the previous recipe. Got a little bit of residue there, but it is okay. We are going to fill this to the 1 cup point of whole milk. And whole milk acts as a mild fertilizer and also an antifungal. And then we want 1 teaspoon of the Castile soap. And this helps spread our formula on the soil surface, and it helps penetrate down into the root system around the plant. So it has a double duty effect there. Now, again, our water is not hot. It is lukewarm. I have let it sit in the sun for about 15 minutes. Dip my finger in there just to make sure it doesn't feel warm. And we want to add this formula mix that we just made to our gallon of lukewarm water. May want to do a little bit of manual stirring so we don't have anything sitting on the bottom, because I am going to be close to the top of our gallon container. Just going to fill that up, and then we will head out to the garden, and I will show you how to apply this in a soil drenching method around any of your plants, like I said earlier. Now, I have this Japanese eggplant growing in a pot here. I also have it in my raised beds. But one thing to remember is that you want to use about 1 to a cup to 1 cup on this one in particular. We are going to go to about 1 cup of our mixture, and we are going to put the top on there so we don't spill it. Again, this will sit maybe for 3 to 4 days when you need to remake it. So you want to use as much of it as you can in the beginning. You want to apply this to the soil surface all around it in about a 6 to 8 inch pattern around it. So it makes sure it gets to the entire root ball of the plant. So if your plant is much smaller, you don't have to go out quite as far. But on this plant, it is growing quite nicely. I have done this once before, and I have seen amazing growth in just a short amount of time. I think the last time I did this soil drench to this plant was about 7 days ago. So that is what you want to remember, is you want to do this when the soil is moist and not completely drenched already. So you don't want it to be completely dry, and you don't want it to be completely saturated. So a day when a massive amount of rain has not just happened and just a little bit of soil moisture, you can put your finger into the soil, and if you have a little bit stick to your finger, you are okay. If it feels very damp and wet, you need to wait a day or two before you apply it. Now, when I say 7 to 10 days on the soil drenching, or 7 to 14 days, whichever you have time to do, you don't want to do this in heavy clay soils. I am growing almost exclusively in pots and raised beds, but if you have heavy clay soil, you don't want to cause a microbial imbalance by doing this too often. So I would say maybe once every 2 weeks if you have heavier clay soil. Now, you don't have to do what I just did and just pour it directly on there. You could gently water it with a watering can, and that works well. You could also use a hose end sprayer. I have lots of hose end sprayers, and some of those sprayers have different mounts on there. Some of them may be a 5-gallon, 10-gallon, or even a 20-gallon hose end sprayer. So you could put your product inside the hose end sprayer, and if you know exactly how much is supposed to come out, it gives you a little bit better idea of how much product is actually flowing through it. One of my favorite things to use in the garden is these backpack 20-volt sprayers. It makes foliar feeding so much easier. I can go through the entire garden or my ornamentals so quickly, and I don't have to go from plant to plant refilling and starting over. It just takes a lot less time by using one of these. So I will put one of these in the description as well. So there are a lot of different ways you can do this, but I just like making things as easy as possible in the vegetable garden. So guys, I really appreciate you watching. I am always going through different ideas. I am always scouring old books and magazines for recipes, old gardener, old timer secrets that they used, and I like to try it, and then I like to take notes of exactly what happened to that plant after I have done that. And I have got a whole catalog of different gardening videos, some not quite so much about gardening, maybe heating, but there are a lot of different videos I have on a lot of different topics, and I just like doing whatever interests me. So guys, if you have any questions about this video or any previous video, please become a public subscriber first. I get so many comments and questions, it is hard to answer everybody. So always put subscribers to the front of the line because I can filter it that way. So guys, I really appreciate it and have a great day. If this story changes the way you look at the simple ingredients in your pantry, please subscribe and like the channel. We are digging up the history and the secrets that have been hidden for too long. Let's grow the future together. The next garden treasure will be open soon.